Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We decompile Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and cause trouble. Mischief? One of those. That's what we're doing. If you're not familiar with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night decompilation project, you can go to soten.z.dev and learn more. Something that Eldritch stopped by and posted yesterday. Let me see if I can load it up. I was looking at this intently yesterday, not sarcasm. And now I can't find it. Of course. He posted a spreadsheet of... yeah. Oh, what happened to my window with that spreadsheet? Oh, there it is. A spreadsheet of what is currently in our config. And why is this filtered? Oh, how do I get rid of a filter in Google Docs? I don't want a filter. No, undo, remove the filter. See if I can just reload this. Oh, I don't know how to use Google Docs. And it's possible that this is being filtered some other, I don't know. Anyway, normally this has about 400 rows in it, which is all of the enemies in the game. And I was taking this and reformatting our config file, and let me see if I still have that open somewhere. I probably don't, because that's the kind of day it is. Yeah, I don't. I was working on reformatting that, kind of reflowing it, putting in enums where we could have enums. Oh, here it is. Don't worry about all the deletes. Everything's still there. But basically building this out as a table that looks more like a table, and putting elements in place of numbers, other things like that. I found a few things along the way that are somewhat interesting. We have a few elements that we've not come across before. And the way that drops are encoded, we didn't previously have enums for either. So I added some of those. Let's go down to the Axonite. Something like the 136 here. The 136 consists of two things. It consists of the high byte, or the high bit of this. It's a 1 byte field. The high bit, if it's set, indicates that this drop is an equipment drop. And then the low nibble, the high bit there, which is also an 8, so this is hex 88. That indicates the equipment item. And if we go up to look at equipment, not accessories, but equipment, and look at what index 8 is here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the Axe Lord shield, and that's exactly what the Axe Lord drops. So we have two pieces of information embedded in this. We may be able to break that out by making it a bit field or something like that. But that's what I found, and kind of interesting. We don't have we have that mask places, but it's just a constant. And so hopefully I'll create another branch, get this back in. What I was working on earlier I had split up assets that differ between builds. So the way that we're currently building, all assets go into the assets directory, and 90-ish% at least of assets are identical between versions of the game. But there are some assets that differ depending on the version of the game. And the way that we were building, basically the last, how did it work? It was easy for a version of the game to overwrite an asset. And if you didn't have the right dependencies mutated in the process, your build possibly could use an asset from a different version of the game. And for those assets that differed, that meant you would get the wrong asset and then the build would fail. And if you've watched the stream before, occasionally DRA was DRA and Rick. Those were the worst offenders. And so occasionally those would fail in my build, and I would say, don't worry about those. And that was because their assets were getting overwritten. If I did it now, if I built the HD version and the PSP EU version, that would be in effect. And so I went and found the specific assets that were different and namespaced those by version so that you could basically build everything without having to worry about one version clobbering another. And that worked okay. And so that's in PR. What prevented... So if all the assets are namespaced and we can build them all sequentially, can we build them all in parallel? No, we can't, because of how assets are extracted, and that's non-atomically. And if you're not familiar with what atomic writes are, effectively, if you are writing a file on a Unix file system, you call write and you pass it the data you want to write, and at any point the operating system can choose to flush that data to disk. So it doesn't always happen when you expect it. Sometimes there's a known buffer size, sometimes there's not. So to do an atomic write, what you do is write to not the file that you ultimately want. You write to a temporary file. And then you use the rename function that's part of the POSIX API. And rename is guaranteed to be atomic. So if you open a file with a particular name, you get a file handle to the data that name points to. And it will point to exactly one data set when you call open. And if that file gets renamed in the process, you'll either get the old data set, in which case you'll retain a link to that old data set and see the old data, or if a rename takes place and now it's pointing to a new data set, you will get that new data set. And so that's what an atomic write is. It sounds fancy, but it's really just a rename in place. Hey, does a K guess 73? Hey, Spring Quetzal, good to have you all on YouTube. Appreciate my YouTube viewers. Appreciate the Twitch viewers as well. So what I was doing is going through our assets tool and making sure all the writes were atomic. And along the way, I found that there are certain cases where we're not closing files, and this utility is written in Go. Go kind of unexpectedly will close files when they're garbage collected, which is interesting as well. So I don't know Go very well. So I'm learning about some of the internals of Go, and that I shouldn't use finalizers, but the OS uses finalizers. So I think I'm going to anyway. They've replaced finalizers with a cleanup function because at the time of finalization, you're retaining a pointer to something that is about to be destroyed, and so funny interactions can happen. So finalizer is a little bit more dangerous than add cleanup, where you duplicate a bunch of data. Anyway, that's what I was working on. I have to add some more debug information about that. So most people have programmed in garbage collected languages now. That's common for, yes, guess 73. Go does have defer for that. But the problem is, if you forget to write your defer for closing, How do you know? Or how do you not know? You don't necessarily know. So what I think I'm going to write before submitting this is, and this is very helpful in other languages that I've used as well. When you have resources that need to be managed, but you're in a garbage collected language, and then you forget to manage those resources properly, how do you provide the correct debug information? Because where the error happens, usually in the garbage collector or something like that, is very different from where the error originated, and you don't necessarily have the context that you need to go find that error. Sometimes, there's your program's small enough and you can go find that. But there is other cases where it's not obvious. And in this case, where the error comes from is very disjoint from where the error is happening, and the error being forgetting to close the file. So what I found useful in the past when this happened, so Java is an example of this. You have to close files. Every language eventually is going to run into a resource that you have to manually manage, and you're going to forget to do it if you're in a garbage collected language, because you're not used to doing that. You're not used to balancing your acquisition and your destruction or close, your relinquishment of that. So what I found is, at least for like a debug or assertion type build, you capture a stack trace at the point of that allocation or that acquisition of the resource, and then you know exactly where that was. And so that's what I think I'm going to do. Find the remaining bugs that are preventing the close from happening. If you're writing directly to a file, the implicit close that happens by the garbage collector, you get your file at the end. Because this atomic writer doesn't necessarily know when it's going to be closed, you don't always, what you've written to is a temporary file that has no semblance of what the original was. Anyway, not terribly important. Let me fix my branch, get back to B06, we'll get back to Richter. Couple new things here. Yeah, that's what I want. And let's make sure that we're building properly. So along the way yesterday, I did get a build, though, where I could build all three. Well, we have basically 4 versions of the game that we build. US, HD, PSP, and then our custom portable build. And I got to the point where I was building 3 of those in parallel. Our portable build uses CMake and is kind of disjoint from everything else. So we're clean. Yesterday we found the orb, we found shaft, we found, I think, some of the particle effects around the orb. So I threatened that we wouldn't do Richter, but I didn't prepare anything else, so we're going to do Richter. So what do we want to do? We want to find files in Richter, and we're going to go for a medium-sized unknown file. Everything that's named already is going to be very similar. There are going to be small differences between those files and Richter. Actually, I think I know what I want to work on. I'm going to look at the cutscenes, the cutscene functions. So cutscenes always are a little unique. It's a combination of a script that's in a really gross format where they can embed pointers and other things like that in a just byte array, along with text and other things. And then usually there's some customization with how the state machine goes, and that's what cutscene run is. I'm not sure what this other what the other function is here. So I'm going to look at Maria's. So Maria does have a trailing function like this. I'm guessing it's the similar. And then cutscene run typically will have some type of state machine in it. Many of these do share the same cutscene run implementation. BO6 does not. And I'll show you why I think that. So if I look at the assembly, and we'll look at all the cutscene.s functions. Cutscene run, sorry. Oh, why do you hate me? The issue is we haven't forced symbols. Let me run that. When you don't force symbols that come from compiled C objects don't make it back into the disassembled files. So I think that should do what I want. So we have a bunch of these, and they're all a little different. So the DAI cutscene run, the top cutscene run, those actually have exactly the same size as BO6. So it's possible that those are the same versions of cutscene run. Let's look at those and see how those compare with each other, and then we'll see if they're the same as what's in BO6. So we're going to look at source, stage, DAI, cutscene. Hey, Dig Down Deep, good to have you back. So here's our cutscene run. And UO4 was the other one that had a, oh no, top. Somewhat interesting that top has the same size, considering it's in the same location as BO6. Oh, that's... Oh, arrow data. Here's cutscene run. Oh, cutscene run for top is imported. So what do we need to know? Why is DAI not imported when top is? And what might be going on here? So basically we need to figure out what possibly is missing. So far these look basically the same. I'm going to do a diff. The comments are the same, so obviously this was copied from one or the other. This won't be perfect because there will be other things in DAI. So cutscene run looks like it is identical. Because everything that's missing is unique to DAI. And are there any if-defs? Oh, if stage is sen or is top, we have this extra line, and that's our difference. So we're going to have to continue. we probably should change that define to something like cutscene, tile map scroll or something like that. Or that should be enough. That one's easy. So we'll make another condition here. I don't know if that's the right name, but somebody will tell me at some point that my naming is terrible. And then in DAI, what we should be able to do is define this macro and include cutscene run. And assuming that it actually is the same, that should continue to work fine. How's life, Dig Down Deep? Things are going well? That's good to hear. All right, so that worked fine. So really, we just needed some way to kind of inform this macro, or sorry, this include that we need this section, and I think we'll be able to do this with BO6 as well. I think that's the only difference that we had. So let's try it. That would be nice. So we have to go up 2 directories, st, and then cutscene run.h. Let's build, and that worked too. So we got that one done. Then we have this last function, and we do have a duplicates report that works again. So let's go check out the duplicates report. And I just want to confirm whether or not this matches. It doesn't match anything else. So at least at 90%, it does not match. We do have that other, like I said, the Maria boss fight that has a similar, possibly similar function. Let's grab this one and see if we can figure out what it is. One thing that's interesting, I get how it works. I was working on, so when I was splitting the assets into different directories, I was working on a macro for including different versions based on the game version that was being built. So including different directories based on the game version that was being built. And that's surprisingly difficult to do in C. I guess it's not C, it's the C preprocessor. I wasn't aware until last week that you could not include, like you couldn't nest preprocessor directives in macros. So you can't write a macro that doesn't include, for instance, so it expands to include. You can't have recursive macros. Well, you can have recursive macros as long as they expand to something eventually. You get a single pass, effectively. So let's grab that. And that makes doing the include tricky because you need your pound include at the top level. Then you can't call a macro that calls pound include. So what do you do? And then you kind of have to mix names with strings with symbols and blah, blah, blah. Harder than it seems. All right, so a bigger function than I was expecting. 7 cases, just like the Maria cutscene. I don't like to do work that doesn't need to be done, so I'm going to go look at that Maria cutscene and... Oh no, it's different. It's a very different function. Never mind. I was thinking that it was there's 7 up here in somewhere else. All right, so we don't have that. It's a bigger function than I expected, but that's okay. We'll get through it. And I think there's nothing to it but to do it. It is worth, before I do it, I'm going to look around for other functions that work this way. See if I can find anything similar. So, Castle Center, there is the Maria cutscene there as well. Boss Maria is the fake boss in the PlayStation version, and the PSP version, it's where you fight. This looks like it probably is Entity cutscene. Let's steal this and see how much matches, because it actually looks like it might be pretty close. It looks like the HD version of this has not been decompiled. The HD version, if you're not familiar with that, and I repeat it over and over, is a version of the game that ships on the PSP version release, as well as every other version of the release. Most of the overlays are the same as the initial JP release, except for DRA. Maybe a few others. DRA I definitely know, but basically all the stage overlays are the same. And so if you decompile HD, for the most part, you decompile JP as well. The main difference is in DRA, it has references to hard drive locations, HD hard drive, of different things. We're gonna have a bunch of symbols and macros we'll need to map. So we'll get to that. Some of these are going to be the wrong type. Let's see if I can find what the proper types are for these. Is cutscene done is always in a strange place. It's in BSS, which is uninitialized data. Uninitialized data is actually initialized to zeros. It's assigned 32. Cheat dialogue. We do have that. Some of these are going to be the wrong name. I'm not worried about that yet. I'm just looking up types for all of these. What are the errors about range checks? That is because I made when you're giving SPIM, which is the disassembler, a list of symbols, you can tell SPIM for a particular address how much data is associated with that. And for a player state object, that's 3D0 in size. But then I set the starting pointer to 3D0 in size, but then I go and define fields, symbols inside of that, and SPIM hates that. It hates this one weird trick. I am going to call this VO6 entity cutscene. And I need to go get all these cutscene macros as well. These might be in an include. Yep. So they're just warning, saying that I've defined a pointer of a particular size, and then I'm defining new pointers inside of that it doesn't think should exist because they're overlapping. Yes, that's correct. Yep. A few more errors. So some of these I know are going to be wrong. And I'm not too concerned with that. I'll get things compiling and then I'll be concerned about it. I don't know if I need all these. All right, 84%. So not exactly. The bottom of this looks surprisingly similar. There's some differences at the top. So I'm kind of mixed. For a 500 line function, I'm probably happy that I did this. Occasionally you'll get a function where there's a lot of differences sprinkled in between, and those can be sometimes a pain to debug and possibly easier to just start over. I will fix some of these symbols. So we know is cutscene done. It has this address. I'm going to go add those symbols along the way so I can replace them. I think all these are already replaced. G dialogue we have. Oh, interesting. Sometimes this happens as well. So we already have G dialogue. This, in this case, SPIM didn't pick up that this was Yeah, this happens quite a bit, actually. We're not getting the relative offset, and it could be because I broke it earlier with the incorrect size. I don't know. Doesn't always work like I want it to, or I think it should work. This is another case where gdialog is mapped already. I took this from Center Castle, and that was one of the earliest overlays that we worked on. So it will use like the D underscore as opposed to D underscore version underscore syntax. Interesting symbol change here. In Sen, they've not identified this symbol as prize drops. That's a little strange. Price drops is very copied code. Just worried about symbols right now, and then I will go back and do the other things. So this is strange. And there probably is something else going on here. A bunch of these seem out of order. So I won't worry about the symbols there until that gets worked out. Here it looks like we might have another symbol. Cutscene data. Oh, sorry, wrong window. Sorry, I'm skimming through the code and then going back and forth. Apologies for that. Possibly an extra jump table that we don't have. So there might be another switch in here that we need to add. And then this is cutscene done, I think. G settings versus G as time attack unlocked. We'll get to that as well. So I think this is a reasonable starting point. There's some branching that's different, some symbols that are different. And then the top and bottom are different. Let's look at M2C, and we'll kind of step through and try to follow M2C and what it's doing along the way. And if we see differences, things that are obvious, then we'll try to resolve those. So this 698 symbol is now mapped to is cutscene done, so we don't have to worry about that. We have a G settings check that isn't in the original, or is not in not so this was in Sen, but it's not in Richter. And there's no facility for skipping the cutscene with start. So oh, that's interesting. So this particular cutscene you can't skip. At least not here. The check isn't done. So if the time attack is unlocked, then it won't play it, and there must be other functions that'll set the skip cutscene global. All right, so our time attack unlocked. Is going to trigger this cutscene skip. So let's do that. So it's slightly different structure to this. We have our outer if. And then an inner I'm going to throw this signature into the context. That'll give us a nicer I need to give it the right function name. It'll give us nicer argument name. All right, so our percentage is telling us we're getting a little closer. I'm going to focus on the logic first, and then go back and look at the similarity. So if we're not in time attack mode, we're going to switch on params. Case 0, we're looking at settings and then jumping to block 14. We don't know what those are yet. And we don't have them either. So we're going to have to see what they are. Spell switch correctly to get things to work. So we're needing to assign this somewhere. And I'm assuming this is going to break. Case 1. Sorry, case 2. Something similar. We have two things. I'll pull this variable in, even though we don't have it. And I guess I'll just pull in all this, and then we'll work through it. The go-tos probably don't matter. So I'm gonna grab this and assume that it's after the switch. So, block 13 and 14 are here. So we have those defined now. And let's go look at what block 15 ends up being. Oh, skip cutscene. So we always end up coming down to the skip cutscene. And we need to see what var 0 and var 1 end up being, or how they're used. I don't see how it's used. Oh, they're used here. All right, so this is basically, how are we determining whether or not the cutscene is going to be run? So I'm going to replace that. This is I think I am going to make this the default case. I think what's going on here is a lot of duplicated logic, and it's just pulled out into variables and then unified. So we have to so temp v1 is params. If params does not equal 3, so this is this not case 3 then? All right, so in all cases, var v0 is G settings, with the exception being this var v0 underscore 2, where it's getting masked in a slightly different way. So these are different flags that are being checked. And then based on whether those flags are set, we're going to skip the cutscene or not. So I think this is going to be what it ends up looking like. Basically, each of these will have its own conditional check. Based on the flag. It's too much. It's possible that this is unified in some way to avoid the duplication, but I think 88 is higher than we were, so I think that is probably correct. It looks like there is a few things that are slightly different. This top part looks fine, though. Let's try making this default. No. So I think that seems like it was indeed case 3. Let's try negating this. Nope. So our move is out of order. The move is moving our self pointer to argument 0 of cutscene, and whether that happens before the JAL or the instruction immediately after the JAL makes no difference. This is called a branch delay slot, the instruction right after a branch. So these end up doing the same thing. So why do we generate a no-op in one case and not in the other? We have to figure that out still. Oh, good call. Maybe cutscene skip doesn't have an argument. Thank you, Dizek. It does. That was a good idea, though. This really, I mean, instruction-wise, we have the same number of instructions. These 3 instructions all will get executed prior to entering the first instruction of cutscene skip. So the order doesn't really make a difference. There may or may not be something else going on, which causes that. So we'll keep going and see. I'm not sure if what the meaning of these flags are is known. It looks like not. Nobody has named them. So there's going to be a few things in here that we know are different from Sen. We're not going to have a castle flag about meeting Maria in the center because that's not what's happening here. We probably will have some other castle flag. And that is what's happening. So our first case here is quite a bit bigger. We have a bunch of go-tos and other things like that. And we'll have to work through these. I want to see where, if it's just this first case that differs, that's not too bad. And it looks like it is, and I'm guessing the last case differs. I don't know why the return here is necessary. Or here. So yeah, it looks like in 6 there's possibly more. And this case 7 is a little bit different. So let's work on the first case first, and then we'll go down. Sorry, the 0th case, the initialization case. I think I'm going to do the same thing. I do have symbols now that I didn't have before. Which makes me want to regenerate and start a new scratch. I'll just look at them. There's not too many. I only added 2 symbols. So let's save, and then we'll try to get through this. This is gonna not compile for a while until it does. Dizek suggesting that maybe the function signature is necessary. The default signature is 3232. Return a 32-bit and take an arbitrary number of 32-bit values. We could put it in there. I don't. For GCC, it usually doesn't make a difference. Let me make sure I am back where I want to be. We'll throw it in there just to see. I'm pretty sure it's something completely unrelated, and that's kind of tricky with decompiling sometimes, especially when the optimizer is involved. My guess is that we're going to modify something completely different, and then this will resolve itself. So I'm not too worried about it. It can be hard though to know what is important and what isn't important while you're in the middle of it. And I screwed something up. Copied the wrong thing. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so like I said, we're not going to compile for a little bit as we update some of these variables. This may be a switch. It looks like it. So this is an abnormal switch, and this is lovely GCC optimized code gen. So we have to kind of build a state machine in our head to figure out what this switch is going to look like. So it's going to be on params. If we're not 1, that means the else is going to be 1. What is our else? Just fall through. So we know that case 1 is a break, and we might need it, we might not. We'll see. So if you're if you're not 1 and you're less than 2, that's case 0. Everything from case 0 will go up there. It has this, if you're not equal to 0, go to block 38, but that I don't think that can happen. I think it's superfluous, right? So you're not 1 and you're less than 0, that leaves 0. All right. So that makes this default. Sorry, less than 4. So the only things we have left are 2 and 3. And then the rest of this is just the fall through. Not quite. We do have a go-to block 38. So that means in the other cases, we are setting the cutscene script. That's just case 1. So case 0, we skip. Actually, if we hit this code path, we're going to skip past the cutscene script. If we were in cutscene 1, we would have hit the cutscene script, and if we were in case 3, we're going to destroy and return anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. Or we were going to skip the cutscene skip. So I think that's fine. I like making this an else. Then I don't have to have the break there. Block 20 is going to be destroy entity and return, and we can do the same thing there. This go-to is implicit now. I don't think there's any references to block 20 anymore. It's possible that this can be negated up here. I don't know yet. And then block 38, I don't think we have any references to that anymore either. What I'd like to do is go... we probably do have a set cutscene script definition because it's declared prior. So I'm going to grab that signature. My guess is that it returns an unsigned 8, which is why we get the mask. That is one time where GCC will generate a slightly different signature, or slightly different code. All right, now I think all that's left, so our return up here can be just a fall through. I think all that's left is getting the right variables here. 698 is cutscene done. I like making that a Boolean. I don't know what cutscene flags is. The primitive index, would that be coming from grec? I don't know yet. I'm going to it's not declared. I might go back and look at sen and see what sen is doing. I don't think I have a primitive index anywhere up here. Oh, we have a temp v0 reference that I need to find and destroy. This is the same thing where this is just being called. Okay, so this I didn't expect. And I should have been paying more attention. That set cutscene script was only being called in certain situations. Possibly Varus Zero is getting set here. I'm going to go look at Maria. Yes, Maria doesn't do any additional logic. The only reason I'm looking other places is because this is going to introduce a new variable. And I want to see if this is handled this way anywhere else. Here it's they called this a pointer, but it's definitely not a pointer. But it is okay. It looks like. I don't know why they did that. This is they're reusing the pointer that is used for the script. That might exist already. It does exist already. I'm going to do that same thing. I don't like it, but it matches what's done elsewhere. And then we have a few more of these variables to figure out. So these are going to be unique to the 06. I'm going to see if Spim can give us a hint for the size. This also suggests that this 303C probably is associated with the cutscene, or at least parts of it are associated with cutscene. So this is, it looks like 4 bytes. It may be a single byte padded out. Let's do that. Let's say it's a unsigned 8. The cutscene scripts. They're just unsigned 8 arrays. I think Biz Murphy did a lot of those, figuring out what they were. This one is also, I think, an 8-bit value treated as a Boolean. Another 8-bit array. Take the reference off an array. So an array, the value of an array label you're not familiar with C, is effectively a pointer to the first element, so you can use it like a pointer. The value of the label is the address of the table, is what I was taught when I was in college. One more. Yeah, it does look like a bool. I think technically bools in C are ints, if I remember correctly. And so there's a lot of places that will treat them as 8-bit, and they're 8-bit in most languages, but I don't think they are in C. I think they are 32-bit in C. Or their word size in C. I'll confirm that. Actually, they might not be. It might not be defined. Yeah, I don't know if bool is defined. If a size is defined in the spec. Last one here. So this is part of BSS. BSS is a pain. It can be hard to find sizes unless something references it. Looks like it's just a 32-bit value, though. Fortunately, there was a lot of stuff around it that helped identify what type is. Prim index is usually a unsigned 16? Signed 16, I think we treat it. I'm going to make it a signed 16, and we'll see. One more, unknown 30. This should be params. Not sure why that's not working. All right, so let's see how our messy refactor did and how close we are. Surprisingly close. Look at that. That's really good. I'm happy with that. A few differences here and there. It looks like some data types are wrong. So the one that I just said, I think I'm going to make it 16-bit is actually 32-bit. That's not an issue. A jump going to slightly wrong place. That could be at the end. And that's just because we have an extra value on the stack. Not worrying about that. Oh, good call. Dizik's helping me out. Down here we have a plus FE, which would be the same as -2. Let's look at that and see what we're generating. Params is usually, but not always. And in this case, it is being used as a decimal value, so I think that's fine. Often, or an integer value, I should say. Often, params is like bit-packed flags, but you never know what it's going to be. So in this case, using it as an integer, I think is fine. I think basically all of that, though, ended up looking really good. A bunch of register issues got introduced. Let's figure out what is going on up here, and see if there's something obvious. So we have our argument being set. Castle flags. Probably what's happening, though I don't know. So we're setting this global, and I think that's a mistake from from M2C. This is out of order. my guess is that this is an else. And this should be down there. It may be inverted. It might not be. It could just be assigned as well. What if we did this? Do we get the same thing? Nope. All right, and what is Castle Flags D8? Only one way to find out. Well, there's probably a couple ways to find out, but this is the way. This is the way I would do it. Met Maria in Sen. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? So I copied this over coincidentally from Sen. But we have this, we're checking the same flag. So if you didn't go through Sen, this AOC8 reference is not going to be set. Wow. That is wild. Let's see if anything else reads it. It could be copy pasta. If it is like real, I don't know enough about the variations of that cutscene to know, like, if this is your first time seeing Maria, are you going to be like, oh, who are you in this castle? Maybe the script is slightly divergent. Nope. The only thing that references, this function, sorry, this, it is referenced elsewhere. When I broke these references, it may be that it shows up later, especially in this area that differs. Okay, so I'm going to look at the. I just scanned through real quick to see if there is any reference to it. No, these are our only two references. So we have some copy pasta in here about Maria that doesn't make any difference. It would be interesting, I think, to go look at the PSP version. We'll do that as we get further along. We'll go look at the PSP version and see if maybe this reference is used there. It could have been something that they were thinking of and just never got to. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, what are the odds? There's a lot of copy pasta, so it's not like completely out of line. Here's our check equipment item count. Do you have the holy glasses? 22. We should see that as well. Fortunately, I don't think we have these. Yeah, I would like to put markers here. So that would be the same as 34. 276 minus 34 is 242. So up on line 242 is where our array should start. That looks right. So yeah, that's checking to see if your if you have the holy glasses. That's interesting too. I thought you needed to have them on, but maybe you don't even need to have them on. You just need to have them. Is that right? We could look at check equipment item count and see how that works. Uh-oh. I noticed my notifications coming up. That means all of my windows are no longer being captured. Fortunately, I caught it right away. All right. Oh, I have a calculator open. My calculator. All right. What else is missing up here? Wild, though. I mean, I meant to copy from Sen. $121. So there's some register issues here. I'm not worried about that either. I think that will work itself out as well. So I think the next thing to do is go down to the bottom and figure out 189. This one is a difference. Texture page. It's not clear to me how these texture page values were imported. My guess is that they had some kind of asset manager outside of the game and it would generate header files, maybe? I don't know. It seems ridiculous to have those hard-coded. 208. I is being masked. So that means that we have the signature for this as well. I have a pretty good gut feel as to when signatures are necessary and when they're not. Not always, but most of the time. Okay, so we have the 0 and the 8 being loaded out of order. A little strange. I'm hoping that this is enough. Nope. Let's pull the prim assignment out. Nope. Oh, and where's our 8? Where's our 8 coming from? 8's being stored into V1. And V1 is being assigned here to hide. Not sure why this is being generated out of order. Cristiano is suggesting move these out of the for loop declaration. I'll try it. What could it hurt? Yeah, still out of order. So we're assigning the 0 first. We don't really control this. When we're, I'll do these as separate. Oh, let me do that. When we're assigning these as separate locals, especially when there's an immediate value involved, the compiler doesn't care what order this is happening in. It wants to do it in the fastest order, or whatever's the fastest. And so loading immediates often can go to branch delay slots. Sometimes things like load word, this S1 value isn't actually available until one instruction later. And we don't see that because we're not writing the assembly directly, but the compiler writers know that, and they know that they can't use a register that hasn't been filled yet. So sometimes it makes sense to pack stores in a particular order. When they're immediates like this, though, what order they come in is less important. I'm going to move on and hope that that resolves itself as well. I don't see an obvious way to... I have a couple tricks that I could do to force it one way or another. The draw mode possibly is a variable and it's being assigned outside, but it's being assigned to a constant. And so if we assign that what is a constant variable to this draw mode field, GCC is smart enough to make that just a constant assignment. So I'm going to come back to it and we'll see. I think the big things are going to be down below in that last switch. Here we have, this is the script interpreter. This probably could be pulled out into its own header file because I doubt this changes too much, except for right now we have something a little bit different. What are we doing? Here we're doing a shift by 16. Nope. The load upper is this value here. So we need 4 zeros and then the 10 after, and that should be the same. I'm okay with that. But we're not getting that instruction. Why not? That's weird. A very weird subtlety in the difference in how that's interpreted. A no-op generated here at line 32, another thing that we don't necessarily control directly. Register issues. Let's get down to that bottom section. My hope is that resolving this last case, which I think is here, my hope is that this resolves all the other issues, but I'm sure my hopes will be dashed. Not a lot of confidence. We'll see if it works, though. So we're going to do the same thing as before, not really pay attention to how close this is. This is pretty straightforward. I think will be fine. Here's our shaft orb defeated flag. Kudos to whoever came before me and figured out all these castle flags. I'm sure a lot of this came from the randomizer community, but just amazing that we have all this stuff already, which makes it easy then to interpret what the code is doing. If you're thinking about starting a decomp project, the beginning is just gruelingly hard. But as you learn more about the game, things go faster and faster, and you can see, where those changes are, what the logic is. It starts to make sense. You start to think like the people who wrote the game a little bit. All right, so the big thing here is not a huge thing, but we just have something on the stack that we shouldn't. It could be a type. It could be something else. We might not, for example, have a separate variable for next char 2. When we say fake, it means that some tricks were pulled to get the compiler to compile the way we wanted it to, and we don't necessarily think that that's the way that it works. But in this case, this is compiling for the PSP as well, so I kind of trust that that it works that way. But I think that's probably the next step, is to grab the PSP and get a million errors. Not errors. We'll get a bunch of misses. I'm kind of hopeful that this is pretty close already. Let's find some entropy. The hex 22 is pretty good. Though there might be other things that check for holy glasses. I do need to replace this castle flags up here. While I'm thinking about it. And here. So I'm looking for the flags here might be good. Let's start with that. I hope that I didn't clean this directory. I don't have the PSP version in my Git history. So when I clean the PSP version, it gets rid of it each time. And it didn't. And look at that. There's only one function that has that number. Good entropy selection. Oh, thank you. Looks like we have an extra mask that's unnecessary. So I have this PSP version now. And we'll see how close we got. Oh, drat. PSP doesn't link the jump tables, which means M2C is going to fail. There's a couple things, a couple options here. I could just ignore it, and we're really only looking for a few things that the decomp isn't going to tell us anyway. Let's try that, because we will compile, and decomp.me will do the comparison against the assembly. We just won't get jump table references. So I think that's fine. I think it's going to be okay. Unless we're wildly off. 60% we're wildly off. But I mean, I think it's going to be okay. I mean, this is horrible. And yeah, I'm going to have to regenerate this, I think. Ooh. There's a lot here that isn't in the PlayStation version. Okay, that's okay. I can deal with that. Let's look at that beginning section. See if there's anything there. There's an extra function call. I don't think that exists. So I'm not worried about that. Register issues. Can't really complain about that right now because so much else is wrong that you can't really trust the register allocation. Here is something that may be relevant. I was thinking this possibly was a variable, the S4, but we're trying to get rid of variables. It's being assigned to the case label value, so I'm not concerned about that. Here is one that I am concerned about. So this cutscene skip. Oh, let's go back up. 6F8, 6F8, that's our cutscene skip. So this is inverted. Probably doesn't affect the PlayStation, but we'll invert it to get this matching as closely as we can. And now those match a bit better. 77. Castle flags. It's being treated as a... Looks like it's being masked, maybe intentionally. Oh, no. It's being masked. Ours is being masked. So this is a not. This is inverted as well. So our destroy entity version comes. So we'll have to invert each of these cases. So demo mode does not equal demo none, or castle flags, or player is not 0. I think I commented about that earlier on. We can get rid of this else, which is nice. So this does tell us a bunch, even though, even if we don't get a decomp. So these are getting loaded as words instead of bytes. Not a huge deal, just interesting. There is something else that's getting loaded here too. Yeah, something else is getting set to 0. I'm going to make the assumption right now that it's PSP specific and keep going. Yeah, a little more down here. So again, I'm going to make that assumption. I'm guessing that this is backwards as well. It looks like, yeah, destroy entities coming first. So let's negate all this. These look out of order. There is an additional branch that's happening here. It's back. Where's that add? It's coming much later. Usually the step increment is one of the last things. And all of this ordering may impact register allocation and all that. It's just harder to see. There's an additional check here. Is it dereferencing this? No. We'd have to go back and find out what S0 is. It's the same as RS1. It looks like it's an explicit check for 0. Or not 0, sorry, not 0. So this branch is showing up here. Where we jump to afterwards is quite a bit different, though. Is this just falling through? Looks like it's falling through. So 3A8 versus 438, those show up at the same place, so it's a fall through. Case 1, we didn't change at all. We don't have any of those symbols. So it could be different, but I'm not sure. Well, let's go down to the bottom and look at that. So there definitely were mistakes, and we've resolved a bunch of those, but obviously not everything. The destroy entity is coming before the switch. That's surprising. I wouldn't think that could be relocated without it actually being in a different place. This order looks wrong. Let's look at that. I have a hard time believing that destroy entity could be moved that far up without affecting the GCC compilation, but I mean, stranger things have happened. So yeah, destroy entity is happening down here. It is a Jump location. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way that that would be able to do this. So PSP does this beforehand. And everybody else does it. Well, I shouldn't say everybody else. US does it afterwards. So we still have register issues, still have stack issues. Didn't really fix anything on the stack. I think I am going to have to go back. There's type issues as well. Ugh, this stinks. PU. I mean, not the worst thing ever. We're pretty close. Ordering here is not quite right. And again, that may or may not be different. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to fix this PSP version, delete this one, and start over. What time is it? Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to end this stream. That's what I'm going to do. We'll get back to cutscene tomorrow. We made it pretty far. The cutscenes often have strange complexity and are often unique in different ways. So I'm not too concerned with where it is now or where it will be. And it'll be figured out. We'll get a new version of the PSP version, maybe map some symbols there as well. And then get this fixed up. Interesting, though, about the destroy entity. I think that's probably the most interesting thing. We see that from time to time, bug fixes that show up in the PSP version of the game. I can't say why, at this point, destroying this entity is more important. There's no other external function calls down this. We're not running any concurrency or anything like that. So unless there's other code that is happening in here with the PSP, which I didn't see, I don't know why this would happen. There could be another side effect, but I put it. It would be if there's a side effect that affects G settings or castle flags, but I don't think so. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. That's all I got. We've been working on the Richter boss cutscene, where Maria comes and thanks you for saving Richter. I believe that's what's going on in that cutscene. And we'll come back and look at it. That's all I got. See you tomorrow. Oh, go to soten.z.dev to learn more. See the things that we've decompiled. Look at all our wonderful tools, all the wonderful toys that we have. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Adios.